So President Biden has responded to the news that classified information was found at his University of Delaware office. Let's see what he had to say.
Well, let me get rid of the easy one first. People know I take classified documents and classified information seriously. When my lawyers were clearing out my office at the University of Pennsylvania, they set up an office for me, secure office in the Capitol. The 4 years after being vice president, I was a professor at Penn. They found some documents in a box in a locked cabinet, or at least a closet. And as soon as they did, they realized there were several classified documents in that box. And they did what they should have done. They immediately called the archives, turned them over to the archives, and I was briefed about this discovery and surprised to learn that there were any government records that were taken there to that office. But I don't know what's in the documents. My lawyers have not suggested I ask what documents they were. I've turned over the boxes. They've turned over the boxes to the archives, and we're cooperating fully with the review, and which I hope will be finished soon, and there'll be more detail at that time. The first question now I forgot.
The end of that clip is just perfect. So obviously drew immediate parallels with the documents found at Mar-a-Lago. I think there are some key differences. It is also, I think, amusing to revisit some of the sky is falling takes from the time when the classified documents were discovered at Mar-a-Lago, which weren't just over one of the key distinctions here, which is Donald Trump not returning the classified documents, whereas Biden's team reported them and was in the process of getting them to the National Archives apparently pretty quickly. But there were people who were actually freaking out about the fact that classified documents were in an insecure location and had been moved to begin with. That was in and of itself beyond the pale, and it was something that we could only see from corrupt people who don't care at all about our democracy, et cetera, et cetera. That said, though, Ryan, that difference is, I think, significant.
Yeah, and I subscribe to a kind of different version of the Chinese proverb, which says, "May you live in funny times." This is funny.
Oh my gosh, absolutely.
Like this is very funny.
Yeah, by that proverb, we are blessed beyond belief.
Yes, we live in very funny times. Now, in some ways, if you want to get super cynical about it, Democrats have already gotten everything they wanted. I mean, plenty of Democrats want Trump in jail.
Right.
But to me, if you're a Democrat and you want Trump in jail, put him in jail for the thing that you think is the biggest crime that he committed.
Stop doing the ticky-tacky.
Yeah, put him and Stephen Miller in the same cell for separating children at the border, or like whatever it is that you think is the real crime.
Then you'd have to put Biden and Obama in the same cell.
That's fine. Yeah. Well, I mean, not in the same cell. You put them right next door, right across the thing. Spread them out. Maybe in a big cell.
Okay.
Yeah, and they can interact in Gen Pop.
Well, that can go through the legal process.
Right. But so if that's your goal, that you want Trump in prison, I think you should go for the greatest crime that you think that he committed. But if you're a cynical Democrat who just is looking for political advantage, you got what you wanted out of this in the fall. Like, you wanted the attention of the public to be on Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Because that rallies Democratic voters, and it kind of turns a lot of independents off of Republicans and moves them over to the Democratic side. And unless he's on the ballot, it doesn't necessarily, you can tell me if you think I'm wrong about this, it doesn't necessarily bring enough Republicans out to counteract it. Like, Trump, to me, kind of has to be himself on the ballot, whereas just the ghost of Trump is enough to get Democrats scared enough to vote.
Yes, and it's not I think what we learned in the midterms is that it's not, on the flip side of that, enough to get Republicans.
Right.
If you're running Dr. Oz, you're not going to put up the same numbers in Erie County. So, yeah, and I think the goal with that seemed to be pretty clearly, yes, it was the siphoning of the attention, but also in the direction of an indictment. Let's keep piling more and more things on Donald Trump that potentially one will get to an indictment, which would potentially disqualify him from running for office again. And that's definitely part of the strategy.
Yeah. And now on the substance of this, to me, kind of the national security state has gone so far into overclassification, in the sense that they are classifying so much of their content that they produce, either for turf reasons, just to keep politicians out, to grow their own power, or to cover up their own embarrassments,
right,
because they don't want it exposed. Like, think about how many things that we can just think off the top that they've failed on in just the last 5 years. They don't want all of their kind of internal deliberations, which have led to those failures, exposed. And you're not supposed to use classification to cover up errors. And so to me, the national security state has so little standing when it comes to complaining about classification that it's very hard to take any of their complaints seriously about this.
Yes.
That said, if they could prove that Trump was trying to sell things that he had held on to, and he's doing all this very Trumpy stuff where he's like claiming he's returned everything and then telling his workers to like move them from one place to another. Like he's doing a lot of shady stuff, and if on top of that he's like selling it or he's showing it to like people he really obviously very much should not be, then okay.
Or if it's accessible to people, like if Mar-a-Lago, as I suspect, is very vulnerable to espionage and that kind of activity, and there's material that's not being kept securely, the same applies for Biden's office. But to your point, we have no idea what really level of classification this deserved. And then on top of all of that, you have to think about so the hypotheticals are always there, and that's why we have the law, because all of those hypotheticals completely exist. But then what's the actual risk? Totally different question, and there's so many, I think, unanswered parts of it.
I like Biden's response. He's like, it was in a locked cabinet. Well, it was in a box.
Yeah.
That might have been in a closet.
Yeah. It's like the Russian nesting doll of
Yes.
secure space.
And also, there's no loophole on that.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
now,
Well, that's the thing, right?
and so Hillary Clinton did not end up getting charged. It cost her the presidency, but she didn't end up getting charged with mishandling classified information. And Comey went through the whole list of reasons why they had not charged with mishandling information. Those reasons would seem to apply to Biden here because if it's incidental or whatever. And the other problem is if you're classifying basically every single like lunch schedule
Yeah.
at the CIA.
Which I'm sure they are.
They do? Yeah, they classify the lunch, the soup of the day.
Yeah.
Classified. And you wind up like with a receipt from the CIA in your box, like when you went out to Langley and had lunch. I don't think he's eating in the cafeteria, actually.
Probably not.
But if he did, then you'd be like, oh, that's a classified document. So,
Totally.
but on the other hand, I have no sympathy. These are the people that write the rules.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing that Trump can claim. He's declassified these documents, therefore they're allowed to be
That's
in the
what Biden
space.
should have said. Yeah.
It's right.
Although
but
he was vice president.
That's right. So
he couldn't
it doesn't have the same magic wand power that Trump technically, I think, there's a legal case that he can wield the power that way. But again, this is all a ridiculous sort of glimpse into the classification process.
I think he also said he was at the University of Pennsylvania before he was vice president.
He said that.
I think that's what he said there.
Great.
Anyway.
Hey guys, ready or not, 2024 is fully upon us now, and Sagar and I have been brainstorming ways that we can really up our game for this critical election.
Yeah, we rely on our premium subs to expand our coverage, to add staff, to upgrade the studio. We just want to give you the best independent coverage of this election, which is possible. So if you can help us out, become a premium subscriber today, breakingpoints.com, or the link is down here in the description video. It really means the world to us, and if you like what we're all about, this is the best possible way to keep us 100% independent, working only for you.